If you've been telling yourself that you're just not ready to start, this episode might change everything. Because what if the real reason you haven't started isn't lack of time or clarity, but a fear of failure?
One of my favorite quotes is by Dorothea Brand. Act as though it were impossible to fail. Now let's get started. If you're tired of feeling stuck in life and doubting yourself and want simple steps to stop overthinking, gain clarity, and start living your dream, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Sarah Tyke, a midlife mom, chronic overthinker, and your dream activator. I learned the secret of how to overcome self-doubt and stop overthinking. Take small, practical steps to create the life you dream of. If you're ready to see the possibilities, transform your mindset, and take the first step forward, grab a pen and a journal and meet me in the Dream Lab.
Hello, welcome to Reinventing Life After 40. I'm your host, Sarah Tyke. Today we are talking about fear. But as you'll see by the end of this episode, the only thing you need to fear is your own inaction and procrastination. Starting this podcast is something that I've had a lot of resistance or fear about promoting it. So I've had other iterations of podcasts. I think I mentioned in another episode I started with a podcast called The Interested Reader, and then I rebranded it as The Cosmic Classroom, and now I'm into this totally new direction. And in the past, I never really worried about like posting that I was starting a podcast or I was changing it or what it was about. But this one, I've not really wanted to tell people about it. And I'm not really sure why. The only thing I can come up with is that because it's very different from what I'm used to. I studied physics and astronomy and geoscience in school. I work in the biotech industry now. So to be going in this direction of kind of personal growth and development, self-improvement, it feels like a total complete 180 from what I'm used to. And I think I'm probably afraid to tell people that I'm doing this because it's so different. So I guess I'm afraid of what they're going to think of me, which is also very weird to me because I've never cared what people think of me. But for some reason now I do, and I don't want to tell anyone about it. And I don't know if it's because maybe I'm afraid that if I tell them and then it doesn't succeed, now they're going to be asking me, say, how'd that new direction go for you? Was it a total failure? And I'll have to say, yes, it was. But really, it won't be a failure because I love doing this. And even if nothing else comes of it, other than me just sitting here talking to my computer and my little capybara icon sitting on top of my computer, um, it's fun anyway, so I love doing it. But I just have a hard time promoting it and telling people that this is what I'm doing now. So I have to get over it. That's something that I'm going to have to work on because I got to promote this and I love it. That's the thing. Like, I love doing this. And it feels like I finally found the right path. And I'm finally doing what I meant to do because I love talking about this stuff. I love trying to help people get their dream life going because I think you can always do something to have this feeling of joy and peace in your life. Just small steps. You don't need to do anything big. And I want people to get on that path to starting their dream life and doing what you truly, truly love to do, because then you are going to shine and you are going to have that light that God meant for you to be shining. So in 2 Timothy 1:7, we read that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So whenever you're feeling fear about something that's not God working, that is going to be that's the enemy, that's Satan working, trying to keep you from doing what God wants you to do. Now, sometimes you can say that a little bit of fear is good, right? I think we all know that. And fear can also be called, I think I've heard it called nervous anticipation. So it's not really that you're afraid of something, you're just nervous about it. And sometimes it's because you really want to do a good job because you care so much about it. But realize that if it's fear like, oh, I'm afraid of what someone's going to say to me, I'm afraid it won't work, and then that keeps you from doing something, that fear is not of God. Because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And also Psalm 34:4. I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. So again, when you're afraid about something, if you don't know what to do with something, always, I think prayer is the way to go. So take it to God. He will hear you and he will deliver you from your fears. Now, I think we've also talked in another scripture about asking and believing as well. So you have to pray in faith and believe that you will get an answer, that God will hear you and answer you. All right, point one. Fear of failure often shows up as procrastination, or saying that you're just not ready yet, or you need more time to think about it, or I need to look into it, or I need to pray about it. Remember, we talked about prayer becoming kind of a crutch to put things off so you don't really have to do anything. It makes you feel safe because you get to say something like, I am praying about it. So you feel like you're doing something, but you're not actually taking any action. So when you keep telling yourself you're not ready yet, or you just need more time, you just need to think about it, that's very often your brain trying to protect you from that discomfort, the fear, the judgment, the disappointment. Because again, you get to just sit back and say that you're doing something. So you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm doing something. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But you're never going to do anything. You're never actually then going to fulfill anything. But your brain's just trying to protect you because you don't want to feel the pain, the judgment, the fear, the disappointment, because things might fail. You might take that step and you might try something and it might fail, like my first two podcast attempts. And again, I wouldn't even say they're failures because I still like them and I had fun doing them. They just didn't feel right anymore. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could call that a failure. So your brain's trying to protect you from those sorts of feelings, and that's why you tell yourself that you're just not ready yet. That's a form of procrastination. So start noticing when you use language like that, when you start to say that you need more time, or I'm not ready, I'll start later, I just need to figure something out, I just need to look into it, I just need to think about it, I just need to pray about it. Notice when you're using that language and how often. And if you can, ideally you kind of like write it down and then just maybe journal a sentence or two about, do you really need to research another option, or do you think maybe that's just your way of putting it off? Because I agree, there are times when you actually do need to think about something, you do need to pray about things, and you do need to get information and research. But there's a point when you've done enough of all of those things where you're going to have enough information and you're going to need to move forward. And just, I mean, at least pick a direction. Again, if it's the wrong direction, it doesn't matter. You can take a step back and try something else. You kind of need to start reframing how you think of failure. But for now, point one is to just at least start noticing when you're using that language and how often, and if it's something you really need to do you really need, to do these steps over and over, or is it just a method? Are you just procrastinating? Point two, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process. So just because you, like I said, if you quote unquote fail at something, it doesn't, I mean, really, what is a failure? It's kind of how you classify it. And even if you did say, yeah, I failed at it, who cares? Okay, yeah, that was a failure, so now I'm trying something different. There's just no big deal. I've never really understood the fear of failure. Um, Again, I have this fear of promoting and talking about myself. But as far as failure goes, I've never really been that afraid of failure because to me, things just aren't really failures. They're just experiences and it's data collection and you learn. So every step that you take, every experience, every quote unquote failure, it gives you information, clarity, and experience. And if it happens to be the right experience that you're like, yeah, this is good, this is me, good. Now you've found that step. Now you can continue on the next step in that direction. If you find that I just don't like this, it just isn't me. I just don't like it. Even if you can't pinpoint why you don't like something, just listen to your body. If it feels tight, if you feel like you're just tensing up when you think about this step or going another step in this direction, it's probably not the right one. So step back and try something different. But now you'll know. So this podcast, like I said, was kind of my third attempt at a podcast. Um, So it, and I'm going to keep going with it. Like I'd learned a lot about my style and what I wanted to teach. So the interested reader, if you haven't followed me in the past, was pretty much talking about everything that was alternative science because I love talking about alternative science. And then I rebranded it to the Cosmic Classroom, which was going to be a lot more intentional toward just teaching astronomy because I do love astronomy. I used to teach it as a grad student, and I mean, I love it, and I love teaching. So I figured the two got to go together. I mean, that's just the natural option is to teach astronomy. And so the Cosmic Classroom was going to have very easy, distinct lessons. Like every episode was going to be a lesson. Um, and I never even recorded one episode of it because just the thought of doing that kind of lesson plan style teaching, it just it filled me with dread. Like I just did not want to set up the lessons, and so I knew right away. I was like, that I can't do it. It seems like it's the right path. It seems like a natural, topic podcast style for me to do, but I couldn't do it. It was just there's so much resistance. So I didn't even bother recording anything. So now I've gone this way, a complete 180, but I love it. This feels like me. This feels like resonance. So I feel like, were those other two attempts failures? I don't think so. It was just me finding out where my path was. And it wasn't those two directions, it's this one. And there's a story, I don't know how true it is, but Thomas Edison was asked what it felt like to fail 10,000 times when he was inventing the light bulb. And he replied, I didn't fail 10,000 times. The light bulb was an invention that required 10,000 steps. So always keep that in mind when you think that you're going to fail at something. It's not going to be a failure. It's going to be a step. It's going to be an experiment. It's going to be an experience from which you will learn something about yourself. And then you try again, and you try maybe a different direction. And it's never really a failure. You just got to keep on taking those steps. Like maybe it needs 10,000 steps to figure out where you need to be. But they're all necessary steps for you to figure it out, and it's not really a failure. So when I was a kid, if I failed a test, my mom would ask me two questions. First, she would say, do you know what you did wrong? And the second question, if you don't know, did you get help? Her only concern was really that I learned from my mistakes. She didn't really care about the grades. I cared about my grades more. She always had to kind of talk me down off the ledge and say grades aren't that big a deal. At the end of the day, who cares what kind of grade you got? But of course, I'm that overthinking mind where I'm like, well, mom, I need to get the good grades so I can get the good, semester grades, so I can get the good report card, so that I can get the GPA, so I can get into college, so I can get the degree, so I can get the job. And she's like, whoa, like, hang on a second. That's crazy town. So she never really was concerned about the grades. All she wanted to know was if I learned from my mistake. So there's no reason to fear failure. You just need to try something. If it doesn't work, now you have some information. Now you know what not to do. You know not to continue down the same path if it feels like failure. And then you can just try again. And yes, there will be a next time. You can always try again. So start reframing your idea of what failure means. Start to think of it as feedback, as learning, data, experience, anything other than a complete and catastrophic, I can't return from this is the end of the world sort of mentality, because it isn't. Point 3, you don't need fear to go away in order to start. Fear will probably never actually disappear. You're always going to be afraid. And again, if you look at it as kind of anticipation, or you're afraid of you messing up because you care about this endeavor or this project so much that you just don't want to mess it up, you're always going to have that fear because you're always going to care about something so much that you're always going to be worried about doing your absolute best. So you're always going to have a little bit of fear there, and that's fine. It won't disappear completely. And again, that's your brain or your body, your nervous system trying to protect you. So thank you, brain and body, for trying to protect me from disappointment. But you do need to still take action, and the fear will fade because you've taken action, because now you've shown your body that it's safe to take a step. It's safe to try something new. And even if it doesn't work out, it's like, hey, brain, body, nothing terrible happened. I just get to try again. I get to try something new. So the more things that you try, your fear will diminish because your body, your brain, your nervous system realizes that it is safe, that it's okay to try something new and for it to not work out and to just try again. So decide that you are willing to feel uncomfortable and to do this, whatever this thing is, anyway. And I would suggest writing down that statement every day. Read it. Say, I'm willing to feel uncomfortable to get this done. To learn the new language, to start the podcast, to try starting the business, or to promote my business, whatever it might be. You're willing to feel uncomfortable and do it anyway. So for your homework this week, I would like for you to identify one thing that you've been avoiding starting. Ask yourself, what am I afraid might happen if I try this? And write it down. Like really write down, what are you afraid of? Because I found that when I do this and I'm journaling about my fears, they seem really insignificant when I write them down. So I'll read it back and I'll think, this is really what I'm worried about? This is the fear? Because it seems so small and insignificant when it's written on paper. And I start to think, well, maybe I just didn't explain it right. Because in my head, it's this huge, big deal. Like it is end of the world, apocalyptic level in my head. But then I read the words on paper and I'm like, it's nothing though. It feels so insignificant. Like maybe I just need to maybe explain it differently, but I can't. Like what's on paper is the fear, and it seems so insignificant when it's actually written down. So try writing it down and just see if maybe you're magnifying it in your mind a little bit because you have an infinite mind. It stretches forever. So I feel like your fear almost has room to expand in there, and it just can kind of do whatever it wants. It kind of walks around and gets bigger and bigger. But once it's confined to paper, it's just very small and seems very insignificant. So give that a try. So write down, what am I afraid might happen if I try this, whatever that one thing is that you've been avoiding. And again, we're trying to do this 10-minute action window every week, maybe even every day. So try to do this in your 10 minutes. Identify one thing you've been avoiding starting. Ask, what am I afraid might happen if I do this? And then write down those fears. And then, if you can, take one small step anyway to do it. So we're always talking about action and taking those steps. So what are you afraid is going to happen if you do it? And then try something along that path anyway and see what happens. See if the world actually ends like you think it might. I bet it won't, and I bet you'll feel so good that you did something, some small thing, that you'll overcome that fear, and then you'll be like, this is not so bad. I can do another thing. So the overarching reflection question here this week is, what would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing? Because again, you don't really need to be afraid of failing. It's never really a failure. It's just a way to procrastinate. I think that's honestly what it is. Because there's nothing that's that bad. So it's a way for you to procrastinate and to say that I'm thinking about something. I'm just gonna think about it. I need more time. Or when you say I don't have time to do this, it might be just your way of procrastinating. So to recap, fear of failure is normal and often hidden. 2, it shows up as hesitation and not ready. And 3, you don't need to eliminate fear, you just need to move with it. That's all I got for you guys this week. If you like the podcast, please follow it, like it, subscribe to it, leave me comments and reviews if you can. I would love to hear if this is helping you. That is really what I am trying to do here. Please let me know if I'm helping. If you leave comments, hopefully I'll be able to find them. I'm still learning kind of the whole tech behind all the different podcasting platforms. But if you have questions, I have an email address. It's sarah@theinterestedreader.com. If you want to reach out, if you want to ask me something, I will try my best to answer. Right now, I'm not it'll probably take me a while to answer your email. Give me a few days because I'm not focused too much on that aspect of it right now. But if you do want something, you want a topic you want to talk about, great, let me know. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, please share this episode with someone who might need this reminder that fear is probably a procrastination technique, and maybe you just need to be prodded a little bit more to take that first step. You don't need to be afraid of failure because it's never really a failure. You can always do something, and that's going to really help diminish your fear once you start taking action. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you back here next week. Bye.
Hi, friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may want to get inspired to start living their dream? Also, please leave a review wherever you're listening. It lights me up to know that this podcast is helping you. Take a step forward today. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be done. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Bye.